All right, what's up? How y'all doing? Happy Sunday, Heathens. I am Sheena Butler, your leading heathen, and we are back for another episode of Sunday School for Heathens. All right. Thank y'all for bearing with me last week. I was out of town, so we did not have an episode, so you didn't miss anything. I hope you took the opportunity to catch up if you needed to, okay? So last week I mentioned that and we don't have no church announcements today. Again, thank you for everybody who has been tuning in, who's been watching and sharing the videos. I appreciate all of your support. The watch hours are going up on YouTube, so I appreciate that. I really, really want to transition over to platforms such as this where I can do long format content. Longer lectures and things like that. So that is what I'm really enjoying about it. Like this is one of the highlights of my week. I truly, truly do enjoy doing this. Like I for real love to teach, you know? Um so thank you again for your support as always. Continue to like, share, and subscribe. Okay. Send it to your folks that you know are deconstructing. And again, I'm not here to change your mind. I'm just here to change your mind. Offer you a little insight, information, and perspective that you might not otherwise have. I claim to be no expert. I do not claim to be an expert. Okay. So if you ever feel some type of way about anything that gets said across this platform, listen, you ain't got to. You ain't got to. All right. You take what little information I got, you take what little information you got, put it together and see what makes sense for you. All right. I'm just somebody who went out, learned a little something, lived a lot of life, learned a lot of lessons, and just come back to impart the little wisdom that I got along the way. Shout out to all the righteous teachers. Again, if you ever feel compelled to do so and you would like to give a little love offering to the Sunday School for Heathens, my cash app is $ Sister Roots, SISTAROOTZ. This is not me soliciting, because you know how y'all get. Okay. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get to it. Now, listen, week before last, that was Easter Sunday. And we talked about, the path for Sunday School for Heathens up until this point had been taking the major constructs and major concepts of Christianity and breaking it down for you so that you can understand where you got to where you got, how you got to where you got, where we got as a people, what information was given us to make sure that we stay in this situation. And also related to how energetically and spiritually religion is a spell, religion is destiny swapping, religion is a root specifically for Black people. Shout out to the chosen ones. All right. So I told y'all that on that last video, though, because that's how I wanted to wrap it up. When we talked about the crucifixion of Christ, we talked about the human sacrifice and how it seals the spell work that Christianity is, how it keeps you, how Christianity is a spell of limitation, a spell of identity death, right? So I told y'all that would be the last lesson that took that format, right? If we say that Christianity is that organized religion altogether is spell work of identity theft and spell work of limitation, then that means if your identity has been stolen, then you need to see how your identity can be restored. You have to be able to see yourself for the magic that you are. You have to be able to see yourself for the God energy that you are, the God body, right? So now Sunday School for Heathens is going to take a turn. I won't be talking about those literal constructs and concepts anymore. Now we're going to go behind the Bible. I'm going to show you yourself in the Bible, because that's what they use, right? And you got to remember, everything that we do down here is nothing but stories, allegories, metaphors. That's why Jesus, shout out to the righteous teacher, taught in parables. He told stories, right? Because at any given time, the only thing that a people is known by are their stories. And we understand stories, things that can make it relatable. You have to remember that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. We are light dropped down into solid mass to experience itself. All right. We are energy. We are pure energetic potential energy in our highest forms that has been slowed down just enough to make it look like it's some solid going on. That's what you call the 3D world, right? That's what you call living in this human experience. It is the 3D, right? It is the high potential energy being slowed all the way down, the pure thought form, the pure creator energy, pure divine cosmic intelligence, God, generator, operator, destroyer. It is the existence. It is the being. It is the all. Slow down to experience things so that consciousness can be elevated. All right. So let's get into it. All right. So what I'm going to do is take Bible stories, and I'm going to show you what it looks like on the metaphysical side, on the esoteric side. Okay. Now, while I say that, let me get you a definition, because you got to know what you're talking about to understand what you're talking about and be able to talk about what you talk about. All right. So give me 1 second. Let me grab the definitions for you. All right, so I want to give you the definition of metaphysical and esoteric. Okay, so metaphysical. When I say that we're looking at things are being explained in the metaphysical. We're talking about it's related to, the definition of metaphysical means related to metaphysics, which is essentially the metaphysical question of the nature of the mind. Another definition is it's based on abstract, typically excessively abstract reasoning. Okay? Meaning you got to think big, bitch. You got to think outside the box. You got to think outside the programming, challenge the parameters. Okay? This is not a small, minute concept. It's big thinking. Okay? It's my thoughts are not your thoughts. Okay? And also the third part of the definition is transcending physical matter or the laws of nature. Okay? So again, thinking bigger. That's metaphysical. Meta meaning beyond the physical. All right? So we're going to explain these stories beyond the physical. And then the definition of esoteric. The esoteric meaning, like that's what I'm doing. I'm giving esoteric knowledge. Esoteric means it's intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with a specialized knowledge or interest. Meaning this shit ain't for everybody. That's why some people gonna click on this video, they're gonna listen for a couple of minutes, they're gonna get to write what I'm talking about right now, and then they're gonna start getting nervous. They're going to start getting uncomfortable. And if they keep listening, I'm going to say some shit that's really going to make them uncomfortable. And that discomfort that you feel is called cognitive dissonance. And it is a feeling that arises when new information that you are being given is in direct opposition, in stark contrast to what you have known up until that point. And it is very it can be disorienting. It can be very uncomfortable for some people. Some people will flat out reject it. I don't want to hear that shit, girl. What the fuck you talking about? Okay? You take that witchcraft shit. You take that voodoo and that devil shit. You take it on because you're going to hell. That's it. That's it. And then other people will take it and be like, I don't know. I mean, if you kind of think about it. But hold on. That's too much. We going too deep. And you pull back. And then you got a group of people that's going to say, I knew it because this shit ain't never made sense. What they was telling me didn't make no damn sense. I knew it was something more. I knew it was something bigger. And those are those are the 5%. Those are the people who will teach. Those are the students who are ready to learn. Those are the students of life. How they say when the student is ready, the teacher shall appear. The fact that you're on my page is not coincidental at all. The fact that you sit in and you tune in for these Sundays, the fact that we even cross paths, the fact that you even have a knowledge of Sheena Butler, of Sister Ruth, of Sunday School for Heathens, the fact that there is even this space and time on this platform, the fact that this opportunity is available lets you know that you were set aside. You were always like, I am here to affirm those. Here we go. I am here to affirm those who always knew that it was something more, that it was something different. And everything in life tried to force you to believe otherwise. You always knew that deep down inside you were different. You had a different understanding. You had a different awareness from the time you were small. Okay? And for some of us, it might not have, well, let me not even say that, because that's me trying to pull, that's me being apprehensive about my gift, because I know what I'm saying. I can't be afraid to say what it is. Like, you've been different. And I've been wrestling with, not wrestling, my higher self is forcing me to stand in my gift, in my calling, to stand boldly on the words that I declare. Like, it's not allowing me to shrink myself back. So sometimes I want to mince my words a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But this ain't the time for mincing. This ain't the time for mincing. Like, the people who I'm talking to, you meant for something. Okay? You know that you're meant for something more than what you've been given. You're meant for something different than what you've been seeing. Like, this ain't your world. You know what I'm saying? The calamity, the chaos, the constant grief and pain. You were in it. You were in it, but even when you were in it, you didn't conform. Cause be ye not in this world, or be ye not of this world, because you're in this world. Make sure that you're constantly above this world. And when we say this world, we're talking about consciousness. We're talking about awareness. Okay? So the fact that you here getting this esoteric knowledge, listen, babe, whatever doubts you got about yourself, start letting them go right now. Because if you continue on the path that you're on, even if you ain't quite sure how you stumbled upon this, if you're on the path right now, this is your breadcrumb. And this is your sign to let you know. I'm gonna say, I am your sign to let you know that you're on the right path. Just keep going. All right, so let's get into it. All right, what we're gonna do? We're gonna start off with Genesis. We're gonna start off with the creation story, okay? And I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna give you the traditional religious interpretation first, and then I'm gonna give you the metaphysical and esoteric. So I'm gonna show you the bigger picture. We're gonna think about, you've been looking at it under a microscope. Okay, so you've been seeing a very zoned in view, okay? But there's a bigger picture. So we're gonna back out, and I'm gonna take you to the bigger meaning. Give me 1 second. From this point on, my phone going on airplane mode. Anyway, I'm sorry. We're gonna zoom out, okay? So that you can see a bigger picture. So we're gonna start with the story of Genesis. We're gonna start with the creation story. All right, so the traditional religious interpretation. All right, we looking at Genesis the first 3 chapters 1 through 3, okay? And we're looking at God as the creator. We're looking at God. We're going to start with God. Now, people ask me all the time, what do I believe in? Do you believe in God? I get questions to my inbox all the time about that. What I'm not trying to be offensive. I just want to know what you believe in. And it's so funny because you got to ask yourself, why do we care? Why do we care? Like, why? Like, for real, think about that. Like, why do you care what somebody believes in? Why is that important to you? You know what? And again, I never take any offense, but I think it has really challenged me to really look at people. You know what I'm saying? To really look at the interactions of people, like how we socialize. And you come to find out that people want to know what you believe in because they want to know they trying to find themselves. They're trying to find that kindred spirit. Okay, you got to think about it. For the most part, we operate as a hive mind. All right, I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd. My Star Trek. I'm a Trekkie. My nerd side is gonna come out. So on Star Trek, you got the Borg, right? And the Borg is one mind. It is a hive mindset. They all think the same. They feel the same. They have one objective. And that's to do whatever is programmed, whatever the task is about. Like, you do what the Borg does what the Borg says. Simple as that. You don't come away from it. That's social conditioning. That's the programming that you get when you come down here. All right. That's why so many people believe in the same thing. That's why so many people that's why people who like the same things, they gravitate towards each other. So you have different communities, the artist community, the singing community, the musician community. So there's all of these there's this one major construct, and then there's these little branch offs. You know what I'm saying? So religion is like that, right? We get together based on what we believe in. And when you meet somebody who doesn't believe what you believe in, you get curious. What you believe in? What you got going? What you think? And to some, it can be a beautiful conversation. But to most, they already hitting you with their preconceived notions and their judgments. You know what I'm saying? So it's not an easy conversation to have for a lot of people. I quite frankly enjoy it now. All right? So I want to start off saying what God is to me. What do I believe in? So to me, I was raised up typical Southern Christian. You know what I'm saying? God is the creator. God is a male who's sitting on high. You know the whole sky daddy thing. We know this. That he looking at you. You better not shout. You better not pout. You better not cry. I'm telling you why. You're going to burn your ass up. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it was. So I grew up under that fearful construct of God as the dictator, God as the destroyer, the ultimate father, the ultimate judge. He who sits high on the throne. He sits high, he looks low. All of that fearful shit. And through life, baby, listen, my mama used to always pray that God would show us who he was for ourselves. And I'm going to tell you, the fact that I have now found God, baby, she couldn't be more upset. Do you hear me? Because it is not what she was trying to get me to look for. So life has shown me what God is. Baby, when I think about it, when I look back, come on now. And God has, to me, I now understand. Life has shown me that God is literally everything. God is the all. And first of all, the term God, again, if you've heard me say in previous videos, God is just the term that we humans use to try and explain the greatest thing that cannot be explained. It is inexplicable. It is incomprehensible. It can only be experienced because it is the experience. It is the essence of life. God is the universal consciousness. God is the divine intelligence that makes things happen. God is what grows a baby in the womb. God is what makes the grass grow. without having to reseed. God is what grows trees. God is what forms canyons. God is what develops the spinal cord. God is what stops the heartbeat. God is what starts the heartbeat. God is what determines brain activity. You see what I'm saying? Like, it is the everything. It is the all, and you are. So if it is the all, then it is all that it could ever be. So if it is the all, then so are you. Again, if God is an ocean and we take a cup and we scoop out some of that ocean water, you are what's in that cup. You are a scoop of God. You are, it could not, God is everything. God is existence. God is awareness. God is consciousness. So the question is, what is consciousness and where does it come from? Right? So if we look at God as the creator, in the traditional religious interpretation, God as the creator creates the universe ex nihilo. I hope I'm saying that right, which means out of nothing. It is divine speech. God said. Divine speech is the mechanism of creation that he uses. And creation is orderly, intentional, and declared good by God. God takes on it's God creates the universe. So we're looking at God in creator form. Humanity in the image of God. And so we know in the beginning where it says, let us create man in the image of ourselves. Somebody pointed that out to me. Somebody said, first of all, we already know if you ever read that scripture and you hear, you are the kid that said, who was it? Who said, let's create man in the image of, so who was talking? But we talked about that. We talked about the possibility of the divine heavenly council, because that's when we talked about Elohim, the chief of gods. We talked about it being from that standpoint. But somebody, it was a sister made a comment. She said, think about the scripture when it says, let us make man in the image of ourselves. She said, that's women talking. Baby, listen. Okay. It was a nice, if we look at the creation story as a whole, if we take it, because when we broke it down a couple of weeks ago, we said that we're looking at two different creation stories. Shout out to OG. Okay, she talks about that, how that she takes the two different creation stories in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, because we talked about how there was Lord and then there was El. Anyway, go back to all of that. But in this setting, we're saying humanity in the image of God. Humans reflect divine nature, the divine nature of God, through reason, creativity, moral capacity, and stewardship, meaning taking care of shit. So in the traditional sense, humans are a reflection of God based on how they perform in the physical. Okay? Humanity is given dominion and responsibility over creation. All right? So God creates humanity, and then God creates creation first. Then God creates humanity and gives it dominion over creation, meaning all of the fowls of the air and all of that. We talked about. We'll talk about that. Adam and Eve, in a traditional sense, in the traditional religious interpretation, are the historical progenitors of humanity. We know that they come across as the first man and woman, right? That's what they tell us. But then by the time we get to I don't know what chapter that is, and they got sons, and their sons got to get cast out, and he said, mark me so they won't kill me. Well, who gonna kill you if y'all was the first family? But anyway, we're gonna go back to that, because again, if you hear, you already asked that question, okay? So Adam and Eve were placed in Eden to tend to the garden and obey God's instruction. They got jobs right off the rip. What does that sound like? Get created, you get to work. That's why I said tradition. Listen, Christianity, religion, is one of the greatest tools of the patriarchy. Capitalism, We religion is so deeply imbued in everything. It's going to touch everything you touch. It's going to touch everything you touch because it is a phenomenon. Listen, again, shout out to Stacey Does It. She's showing you how religion was used to gain political power. She going in, so make sure you follow her on social media. The serpent tempts them towards disobedience. The fall in traditional religious interpretation is Adam and Eve eating from the tree that induces sin, suffering, death, and separation from God. They done fucked it up. They done fucked it up for everybody. According to these folks, baby, Eve ate that apple a long time ago, and we still paying for it. Jesus came down and all that trying to pay for that bite. Come on now. And we still paying for the bite. According to them, we still paying for the bite. Okay? It initiates the need for redemption and promise of future restoration. Because when she took the bite and she pissed off Big G, Big Yahweh, remember who's a hitter? Not everything out of order. Not everything, she done messed it up. The woman then messed it up for everybody and set the tone for women to be abused for millennia to come. The key themes in the traditional religious interpretation of the book of Genesis is divine order, goodness of creation, obedience versus disobedience, human responsibility, and theological origin of sin and salvation. Right off the rip, first book of the Bible, the most important book that they tell you, the most important book you'll ever read. Right off the rip, it starts off with structure. It starts off with a framework, a hierarchy. Your God, your man, your creation, the different levels of dominion. Okay? It tells you that you're good. You're good. I'm going to give you your value. You're good until you disobey me and lose all value and begin on a quest of trying to reclaim your value because you disobeyed me and I took your value. And now I'm going to send you on a wild goose chase to find it. My God. Okay. Let's look at this. So that's the major key themes in the book of Genesis. Okay. That's the first major key themes. All right. And listen, forgive me if I'm struggling through this video a little bit, baby. When I tell you the energy is heavy, this Planet Parade is wearing me out. Okay. But anyway, so we're going to keep on. We're going to keep moving. We look at the 7 days of creation. And then we look at Adam and Eve. So let's look at the 7 days of creation, Adam and Eve as archetypes, creation as an inner process. Now we're going we're going to take the traditional view. I just gave you the traditional view. Now I'm going to give you the metaphysical view. Who is God in the metaphysical? God represents... Baby, listen, I had to stop and clear the energy. I'm sorry. I had to grab my selenite, ring some bells, light some incense, check the vibe, because God damn. Anyway, my apologies. Thank you for waiting. Now we're going to talk about the creation story in the metaphysical, in the esoteric sense. What does that look like? What does God look like in the metaphysical? So in the metaphysical, God represents the consciousness, okay? It is the awakening of itself and organizing itself into form, all right? So we're looking at the essence, the God essence, the God creator energy, the pure potential energy that we come from, the primordial creative energy, the great mother, the blackness. All right. We're looking at that as an awakening of itself, it being brought down into solid form. Okay. So this is a coming into yourself, if you will. Okay. So we look at the 7 days of creation as the 7 stages of consciousness, because there are 7 stages of consciousness, of awareness. So you have to understand that at any given time, you are only meeting a person at their current stage of consciousness, their current stage of awareness, their current level of understanding. Once you understand, listen to me, y'all. Once you understand that everybody ain't woke, everybody ain't up, everybody ain't conscious, everybody ain't aware, baby, when I tell you, you will start being more intentional, you will start being more responsible with your energy, with what you allow people to get from you, with what you give out of yourself, what you give of yourself, what you allow yourself to expend. Baby, listen, when you understand that everybody ain't gonna get it, when you understand that everybody, listen, some people will not awaken in this lifetime. Some people will not become conscious in this lifetime, and that ain't got nothing to do with you. You understand me? It is not your responsibility to pull people into consciousness. And for a lot of us, you know, when you first get it, when it first clicks for you, when you understand that you're not crazy, when you begin to see, when you have that awakening, that spiritual awakening, and I guess it is time. Somebody's asked me to talk about what my awakening was like. Because I'm telling you, if you know, you know. If you've been there, you've been there. That real awakening, it's the most beautifully tragic thing that ever happens to you. So you'll always look up upon it with an incomprehensible amount of gratitude and love and relief and satisfaction. But it will always walk hand in hand with a certain level of grief, because you know what it took for you to get here. You know how bad that shit hurt. You know what it feels like to be fully aware, to see the bigger picture and be surrounded by people who will never understand. The people who you love. You ain't got to look far. Most of us grew up in households with people who didn't get it, never got it, and ain't gonna get it, still don't get it. And we've had to walk away. We've had to distance ourselves. We've had to lay certain things to rest, because you understand that the awareness is not there. They sleep. That's the 85%. Blind, deaf, dumb, and mute. Not really saying shit, not really seeing shit, not really hearing shit, not really understanding shit. You just hear. It's the base level of awareness, right? It is the base level of consciousness. They're in the dark. So when awakening happens, and we liken it to day one, and day one of the Bible, God said, let there be light, because in the beginning was the word. God said is the inner word, the thought, the vibration. God said is the light bulb going off. Why you think they equated to a light bulb going off when you hit something? I mean, when you get something, right? So light is the awakening of awareness. It is the, hold up, wait a minute. It's the illumination. It's when it's when the shit clicks. Okay, it is but it's a process. It's the light bulb moment. Okay, so the creation of light on day one is the equivalent of the illumination of your mind, the awakening of your awareness, the rising in your level of consciousness. Now you looking at stuff different. Okay. Day 2, the waters being divided. This is the differentiation of consciousness, of the conscious and the subconscious. For the most part, a lot of so when we talk about the conscious and the subconscious, we talk about those things that we do in awareness, with full awareness, versus the things that we do without awareness, the things that we do without even thinking about it, that subconscious stuff. And what's in the subconscious? The subconscious. Hold on, because I want to get you a good definition. I feel good now. I feel my help. How they say? I feel my help. I'm good now. Oh, I'm good. Whatever that was on me is gone. I'm good now. Let me get y'all a definition for subconscious and conscious. Hold on 1 second. All right. So the definition of conscious means aware and responding to one's surroundings. Awake. That's conscious. Okay. So when you hear when you say that's a conscious brother or that's a conscious sister, that means she's aware of what's really going on. Okay, he's aware. He sees the bigger picture. You awake, your eyes open, and the subconscious is concerning the part of the mind which one is not fully aware of, but can completely influence one's behaviors and actions. It's that shit that we ain't thinking about. That's got us out here acting a fool. It's what we're not connecting the dots to. There's a reason why you're doing what you're doing. So when we talk about working them shadows, when we talk about exploring our inner selves, that knowledge of self, that's when we tapping into the subconscious to make sure that the behaviors that we are displaying, the patterns that we're going through in life are not being influenced by things shadows we hadn't worked. That's what shadow work is. Going into the subconscious and looking at the things that affect our present day behavior, that we're not even linking the two. Okay. So so when the waters are divided, now this is the awareness of the conscious and the subconscious. Okay. On day 3, dry land and vegetation was established. God created the dry land and the vegetation. This translates to the grounding intention. Okay. And manifestation begins. Because in order for manifestation to happen, illumination has to come first. Okay. So in order for manifestation to happen, we got to have the light bulb go off. We got to have the separation of the water, the differentiation between the conscious and the subconscious, what I'm doing versus what I'm not acknowledging that's influencing what I'm doing. And then once we have that understanding, now we ground that understanding. Okay, we ground that into, oh, okay, so the reason why I'm acting like this is because of this. Let me take this and mellow this shit out. It's now you starting to control your temper. Now you starting to control your anxiety. Now you starting to control your irritation. You see what I'm saying? Now you paying attention. So we're grounding ourselves into being intentional about our lives. When you begin to awaken, you become intentional about your life because you understand how much time you've been wasting with the dumb shit. Okay? You start looking around at the agreements that you made and you just like, hold on, whoa. Why am I talking to you? Who left the gate open and let this nigga in? You did. You did. Yeah. Don't ask how that crazy woman got in your life. You let her in. Because you're out here in the dark. You're sleepwalking. Making decisions while you sleep, while you're unaware, while you're not conscious. Okay? Making decisions from the subconscious. Attracting those toxic environments. Attracting those toxic partners. Drawing subconsciously drawing that chaos towards you because you used to it. Okay. On day 4, he created on day 4, the creation is sun, moon, and stars. Okay, that is, if we take that and we liken that to the development of order, rhythm, and cycles of inner guidance. Think about it. The sun. The sun represents our connection to our highest divine self. Our sun represents our connection to the divine intelligence. Our sun represents the connection to God, to the divine God energy, right? The moon talks about our emotion body. It talks about our subconscious self. It talks about that is not illuminated in the world, that we don't illuminate to the world. Okay, that is our connection to our divine inner self. Okay, the stars. Stars gonna always represents guidance. Why you think the three wise men, the magi, the magicians, the astronomers of the Bible were following the stars? The stars represent guidance and direction. So the creation of the sun, the moon, and the stars in the Bible represents the creation of order in your life, falling into rhythm with life. A lot of people are suffering because they're out of rhythm with life. You're going against the grain. You're going against the rhythm, baby. They out there playing Jesse Powell, you in there doing, you doing the electric slide. You're out of rhythm. Okay, you doing the wrong dance. It's when you learn how to dance with life. Oh my goodness, listen, when you become dance partners with life, when you get in sync with this shit, that's when the manifestation begins. When you begin to listen to the inner guidance, remember, the compass is within. So that means that the direction is going to come from within and then radiate outwards. The lighthouse is within. The illumination, the light, the consciousness, the awareness. What is a lighthouse used for? It's used to illuminate the path for the ships that are out there. So the lighthouse that you have within, the illumination, your consciousness, the lighting of your mind, is what's going to shed light on the path that you need to take as you navigating the ocean of life. Life will always be compared to water because you have to learn how to be in flow. Okay? So that's what the sun, the moon, and the stars represent on the stages of consciousness. The creatures that were created on day 5 speaks to the development of your emotional and your mental life. So when you're at the base stages of consciousness, you only focus on certain things. Survival, okay? Food, shelter, clothing, income to sustain yourself and your family. That's what most people are. The base level of consciousness. You are aware that you are alive and you got shit that need to be taken care of, so you got shit you need to do. That's what most of us are. Most of the people are. Okay? You don't even have time in your life to slow down and see. So they're in the darkness. It's the base level of understanding. It's the understanding that I am here. I exist. And because I exist, there's things that have to happen. That's where most people are. That's where 85% of the people are. And life, the programming is set up to keep you right there. Right there. Right where Adam and Eve was. Right there. Naked, aware, awake, but unaware. Okay, conscious, but not in flow. Okay? You don't separate when you're at that base level of consciousness, you don't separate out your life. You don't pay attention to the emotional aspect of your life. You don't pay attention to the mental aspect of your life. You don't pay attention to the spiritual aspect of your life. You don't pay attention to the energetic aspect of your life. The only thing you pay attention to is the physical, and everything, it's a gumbo pot. There is no distinction. There is no distinguishing lines of demarcation that separates out any part of your life. Your life is just one big boom. That's it. It's one. A rise in a level of consciousness helps you understand that there are so many components of this life, and all of them have to be brought into one, have to be brought into alignment. When you step into a new level of consciousness, a new level of awakening, you begin to realize how important your emotional health is, how important your energetic health is, how important your spiritual health is, how important your mental health is, your mental processes, and how important your physical health is. That's why when a person who has been stress eating their whole life, and now they're obese, and they got heart disease, and they got high blood pressure, and they got diabetes, and they got neuropathy, and they're 75 pounds overweight. That's why when that person, because they've been in survival mode, they've been stuck, they've been miserable, they just been getting by. They get up and they do what they have. They have however many cups of coffee they need to keep them going, to get into the ripping and the running. They're doing everything they can to stay alive. The bills are paid. I'm miserable. My sugar high as hell, but the bills are paid. The children got what they need. I'm stressed. I'm developing an autoimmune disease, but listen, the rent is paid. We got food. We got gas to make it another week. But then all of a sudden, boom, something happens. Something major happens in life, because that's how it happens. That's how awakening starts. The big bang, baby. Life meets your ass with something, and it's like, boom, wake up. Wake up. You are dying. You are sick. You are neglecting yourself. You are misusing yourself. You are abusing yourself. You are letting yourself be slutted out and exploited and dishonored. And usually it's in the face of a great tragedy. Not always death, but just a great tragedy. That's what sparks the great awakening. That's what starts the illumination. And it's just like, oh. And then all of a sudden, you see yourself. And you say, how did I get here? But you know how you got here. All of a sudden, you can see all of the ways that you got here. You can see every bad decision. Not bad. You think they're bad in the moment. But as you keep going, and as the light gets clearer, you'll understand there's no such thing as a bad decision. There's no such thing as a wrong decision. There's only decisions. There's no such thing as mistakes. There's only decisions. The world told you that you made a mistake. Life says you learned a lesson. Did you? The world told you that was the wrong decision. Life said you saw what you needed to see, didn't you? The world says that you should not have done that. Life said, you get it now? That's what the consciousness is. And when that happens, that's why you can see people, they'll have that major thing that happens. That's why you have the woman, because that's the most typical thing. You have the woman who her husband cheats on her or something, he has a baby or something, he files for divorce or whatever, and she's devastated in the moment, but give her a second. And in 30 days, that heifer gonna be a new person. Because she's got a new level of awareness now. She's woke. And listen, people take awakening as you're happy. Hopefully, you having awakenings all the damn time. Hopefully, You're becoming more aware because that's all it is. But that woman will go through that devastating thing that will hopefully make her see her worth, or she'll at least see herself as a little more valuable than she did before she got in that situation. And it will cause her to look at herself in a different light with different eyes. And all of a sudden, she done lost 60 pounds because the weight was never hers anyway. It was just a manifestation of the lack of light. When you see people go through these changes, when you see addicts come out and stay clean after they've had a near-death experience, they've overdosed for the last time, or they lost somebody super important, or they killed somebody, and all of a sudden, there's a light that comes on. And you realize how far down in the darkness you were. And all of a sudden, you don't want to put these things in your body that harm you anymore. You don't want to make these decisions because there's a new level of consciousness. You are always awakening. Life is always presenting you with opportunities to awaken. Life is always giving you opportunities to be conscious, to make real decisions. But then there come that funky bitch fear, baby. Baby, she one of the most filthy bitches I know. Because she'll rob you of the light. She'll rob you of the illumination. She'll rob you of the awareness. Fear is a cancer that you let one cell in, and that shit gonna metastasize like wildfire. And it will cause you to refute the light, to refuse the light, to refuse the awakening, to refuse to see, to refuse to understand. It will cause you to stay stuck. It will allow that cognitive dissonance to whoop your ass and attack the people who not afraid to see. It will cause you to try and pull people back into it's the allegory of the cave, babe. Stepping into the light, into the illumination, stepping into consciousness, stepping into awareness. But there are those who are in the cave who remain afraid. There are those who are in the dark who remain afraid. They are the unilluminated. Okay? Genesis mirrors the structure of the creative mind. Okay? It mirrors that which is thought being brought into form and then being lived out as experience. That is what you are as consciousness, as energy, as realization, as awareness. You understand that you are intention. You are pure potential energy that can be focused with intention and lived out through experience. And you'll begin to manifest you'll begin to manifest that energy. This is why you see people change their lives. Because when you are illuminated, when your consciousness, when somebody shares that light, when somebody put that flashlight on you, when somebody hold that mirror up to you, and it forces you to see, and it gives you the opportunity for change. It gives you the ability to choose. Choose ye this day whom you will serve, light or dark, awake or asleep, conscious or unconscious. Are you in the driver's seat or you just a passenger? Because when creation happens, when illumination happens, that's when you start living. It's a birthing. It's a rebirth. That's why they call it death and awakening. Death, you go through a spiritual death and then a spiritual rebirth. a spiritual awakening. Because the version of you that was in darkness, the version of you that was in sin, remember, Adam and Eve were penalized because they became awakened. The tree of life. The tree of life represents the universal law of triadic creation. Now, what is triadic creation? Triadic creation is the law. It is the law that says creation happens through three interacting forces. There must be three things to happen for creation to happen. Okay, the tree of life. Because we're going to talk about the tree of life and then we're going to stop. Give me about 10 more minutes because I'm not going to be able to do Adam and Eve. That's next week's lesson. Okay, so we're going to talk about the tree of life. The tree of life represents the law of triadic creation. It's sometimes just called triadic creation. Now, this comes from spiritual philosophy, psychology, and some esoteric traditions, again, that only a small amount of people know about. The core idea says that the creation happens through three interacting forces, not just one, not just two. It's got to be three, okay? The first force is the active force, the yes, the thesis. This is the initiating energy. This is the spark. Okay? It is an idea. It comes in the form of an idea, an intention, or a desire. I'm showing you how you take your energy and you create with it. This is the 3 steps of creation. Okay? Active force, your initiating energy. This is, I got an idea, or I'm setting an intention, or I have a desire for something. Number 2 is the passive force, the no, the antithesis, the antithesis. It goes against the active force. It's resistance, limitation, or opposition. It's reality pushing back. It's you saying, I want this, but the reality is I ain't got enough money to do this, okay? That needs to be present. That is a part of your creation, okay? Your creative force. Reality pushes back or it provides a structure. It's either going to give you some resistance or it's going to give you a framework, okay? And then there's a neutralizing force. Number 3, the neutralizing force, which is the reconciliation, the bridging together of the active force and the passive force. It is the synthesis. It brings it together. It generates it. This is the balancing force that resolves the tension. Okay? This is what actually allows something to be created. It allows something new to happen. So think about it like this. Say, I want a car. Okay? That's the active force. The passive force is, I don't have enough money to get the car. Or, I don't think I could make enough money to afford this car. That's number 2. That's the passive force. That's the no. Number 1 is the active force. It's the yes. I want this. I can do this. Number 2 is the, no, you can't do this because you don't have what you need to do it. Number 3 is the neutralizing force. You find the solution that works within that limit. I'm going to take on a second job for 90 days. That'll give me the full down payment that I need to make sure that I don't have a super high car note. See what I'm saying? There's a yes, there's a no, and then there's a reconciliation. That's creation. That's how you take. So that is what the triadic law of creation says. In order for these 3 things to happen, I need an active force, a passive force, and a neutralizing force. This matters because it challenges the common belief that if I just try hard enough, I'll succeed. That's only one force. That's only one force. That's the faith without works is dead. Instead, it says that resistance isn't the enemy, okay? It's part of creation. It's just because Just because this is here doesn't mean it can't happen. And it also speaks that real progress comes from integrating opposing forces, not eliminating them. Learn how to use your opposition. Learn how to use your obstacles. Your obstacles are important, especially in this awakening. Because when you get past the awakening, when you get past the illumination, now you got to create. Now you got to create a world. The fall represents coming out of darkness. The fall represents the awakening because Adam and Eve went from, remember, base consciousness to full awareness. And then they were kicked out of Eden, their comfort zone, and forced to manifest their lives. The light has been turned on. The awareness is present. Now you got to come out of your comfort zone and begin to create. What does that look like? We're going to take Adam and Eve next week, and we're going to break that down, and I'll show you what that looks like. How do you take that consciousness, that new information that you have, and create your life? Happy Sunday, Heathens. Have a good one.